Hey, Cross Park, this is your weekly leadership update. It's Advent season. December 1st is Friday, which is probably the day you're watching this. So, a couple things related to the calendar. First, we are on our winter schedule, which means no more Sunday school for December, January, February. The service will be at 10:30 as usual. We are adding a few more elements. We're adding more heaters. We are adding a warm room. So in Sycamore, we'll have the audio of the service piped in there so that if you need to go warm up and still listen and participate, you can do that. Also, we will default to meeting outside at 10:30. But if the weather's going to be really bad, if we can tell ahead of time, our plan is to let you know Saturday afternoon if we're planning to move inside. Of course, there's always the outside chance of snow or ice or something in the winter. That's a little bit different, but assume we're going to be outside, and if the weather conditions are safe to meet in but not good to meet outside at all, if it's too cold and windy, we will let you know by Saturday late afternoon or early evening so you can plan accordingly. So that's the winter schedule. We also have a number of Advent things to take note of. This Sunday is the first Sunday of Advent. We're going to have Advent readings in our December services, so you can look forward to those. Also, Cookies and Carols. It's our annual event. It's going to be Sunday afternoon, December 17th at 4 p.m. There is an opportunity, check your children's ministry email. If you're a parent of a small child, there's an opportunity for the kids to come and sing, to learn Go Tell It on the Mountain, to join the band in leading the congregation in singing at Cookies and Carols. Also, look for the Sign Up Genius so we can make sure we have enough cookies. Finally, our last big group Christmas event is going to be Sunday morning, December 24th. It's our Christmas service. It will be at 10:30, like usual. We will not have regular nursery or children's worship that day. There will be a room for parents of really small children who need to get away or the kids can't stay quiet, etc., etc. But it's going to be a family kind of service. So we look forward to all of you joining us there. The book of John is really interesting in its presentation of Jesus. So you've got four different gospels, right? Four presentations of who Jesus is. And they're complementary. They're not contradictory. They, of course, all are telling us about Jesus, but they have different emphases. And the book of John particularly is known for its high Christology, which means it's very, very clear. John spends lots of time talking about who Jesus is, and particularly his divinity, that he's fully human and fully divine. Now, you may recall from our series in 1 John that this was an issue, particularly for the churches that John was connected to in the Mediterranean world, and various forms of false teaching were causing trouble. And it's interesting, as people have studied 1 John, some have argued that John is fighting against the idea that Jesus is fully divine but not fully human. Other people feel like they see the opposite argument. And the whole point is that John is clearly trying to say Jesus is fully human and fully divine. He's utterly unique in that way. And you see that in the Gospel of John. John, in his writing style and in his content, tends to emphasize these polarities. So things like light and dark, belief and unbelief, above and below, truth and falsehood. John loves to do that to help us sort of think about those pieces. And he is very clear in many places that Jesus is both fully human and fully divine. So we just finished chapter 4, right? Chapter 4 is an interesting example of this. We've got Jesus at the very beginning of the chapter being presented very clearly as a man. He is not shining. He is not hovering. When he meets the Samaritan woman, what's true of him? Well, she treated him like a guy. He's fully human. He was thirsty. He was tired. Right? So in one sense, he's just like any other person. When she tells the town to come meet him, she says, "Come see a man who told me all I've ever done." At the same time, the text also very clearly presents him as something much more than a man. He knows things he couldn't know. He argues that he is able to give living water that he can present true, proper access to God and to worship correctly. It's fascinating, right? Jesus clearly is offering himself as divine. He's fully divine. You see at the end of the chapter, just like you saw all along, that he works by speaking. We're going to see this as a consistent theme in John. Jesus is the Word of God. He's God's self-disclosure to us. And so he heals the official son simply by speaking from a distance. He does what only God could do because he is the Word of God. So we see very clearly Jesus is fully human and fully divine. So as we head into chapter 5 this week, keep in mind this high Christology. Think about how Jesus is fully human and fully divine in one person. There's no one else quite like him. And we're going to see some new angles on Jesus' identity this week. So some thoughts and questions for you as you look at chapter 5, the first 18 verses. Why does Jesus only heal this guy? There's a bunch of people. This is an area where people who need healing are sitting regularly. Jesus heals the one guy and not everyone else. What's going on there? What's with the role of water again in this passage? John likes talking about water. It comes up a lot. How does water function in this passage? How was it related to Jesus' person and purpose? What about this guy that Jesus heals? He doesn't seem grateful. He doesn't seem particularly to have belief. He rats Jesus out to the authorities. What's his role in the story? Why can Jesus feel free to do whatever he wants on the Sabbath? What is Jesus' argument? And how do the religious leaders follow or not follow his argument? What is the questioning by the religious leaders of the healed man? Notice their question: who told you you could carry your mat? What does that reveal about them? Why aren't they asking him about his healing? And in what ways are we sometimes like them? What is up with Jesus telling the man to not keep on sinning so something worse doesn't happen to you? It's a strange comment, and even elsewhere in John, Jesus seems to say very different kinds of things than this. So how does this help us even more understand the purposes of Jesus? So those are a few questions just to get your mind and heart sort of thinking, meditating, wondering about what's going on, and encourage curious contemplation by you as we head into Sunday morning, thinking about who is Jesus in John 5. So join us Sunday morning, 10:30, the beginning of our Advent season. We'll see you there at Hemby Sunday morning. Thanks, Crosspark.